He was considered a fat person in 1870. Think about that.
Standards have changed.
Very much so. Amazing he didn't play a hobbit. He absolutely could have played a hobbit.
Maybe a townsman.
Not like one of the four hobbits.
Yeah, not one of the
like,
main guys.
Someone who's just hanging out at the Green Dragon.
But yeah, no, just would totally fit in.
Yeah. Peter Jackson, missed opportunity there. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
And we are now into our Christmas mini-season, Anton. It's the holiday season.
Ooh, I can feel it now. The chill in the air, the films that are festive.
How chilly does it get in Santa Clara?
Maybe if we're lucky, or sorry, not if we're lucky. I've had some days that have been in the low 40s, very rarely.
Okay.
Which is pretty chilly for here.
Yeah, I'd say so. And we're covering, I would say, a Christmas movie that probably shouldn't count as a Christmas movie, and it's one that I have just assigned a Christmas movie, because technically you can say this is a Christmas movie. The plot of this film sort of involves Christmas and takes place around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as always, we want to thank everybody for listening. The support that we get from our listeners is the thing that really keeps this podcast going. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, write us a review if you'd want. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify, please remember to leave a comment. All this stuff really does add up. And, if you want to support us directly, we have a Patreon. Links to all of the mentioned are in the description of this episode. We're on all the social medias as well. We're kind of just cruising midway through season 9 here, Anton.
Well, as we cruise through, we get through all sorts of different genres and fun, and it's a bit of mystery today, right? Quite elementary.
Yes, it is a mystery. Young Sherlock Holmes, which is a movie I don't know how many people have seen, let alone heard of. I don't think this is going to be one of our more popular episodes, but you never know.
You never know.
How many people do you know have seen this film?
Less than 10.
Had your wife seen it?
Yeah, she had. Yeah.
Okay. Because of you?
No, she saw it when she was younger, but I think part of that is her dad was really big into film. So, especially when she was younger, got to see a lot of films from the 80s, 90s, even the 70s. So my wife's also quite a film buff.
Cultured.
Yeah.
Her dad a big Nicholas Rowe fan?
I gotta ask him personally.
Okay. Yeah, you let me know. Young Sherlock Holmes was the brainchild of 3 primary parents: writer Chris Columbus, executive producer Steven Spielberg, and director Barry Levinson. The central premise of Young Sherlock Holmes suggests that Holmes and Watson did not first meet as adults in a chemical laboratory at St. Bartholomew's Hospital, but as adolescents at primary school. In the story, a series of baffling murders puts young Holmes on the trail of an Egyptian cult practicing human sacrifice in the bowels of London. Dismissed by the police and maligned by his peers, the budding detective sets out with only a few close allies to unravel the plot, culminating in a fiery confrontation with an evil mastermind bent on revenge. The film's tagline is, "Before a lifetime of adventure, they lived the adventure of a lifetime." Young Sherlock Holmes was released on December 4th, 1985 by Amblin Entertainment and Paramount Pictures, directed by Barry Levinson, screenplay by Chris Columbus, starring Nicholas Rowe, Alan Cox, Anthony Higgins, Sophie Ward, Roger Ashton Griffiths, Freddie Jones, Nigel Stalk, Brian Olton, and Susan Fleetwood. The budget was $18 million, adjusted for inflation, that is $52 million. And the box office, $63 million, adjusted for inflation, that is $184 million. It has a 71% Rotten Tomatoes score. Anton, why did we choose this, besides it being an unofficial Christmas movie, according to me?
Well, I think that it's important for us to really think about all of the different films that this film touches. We've talked about this element of, like, what is it, 5 degrees of separation from who did, oh no, it's a bad joke. Who did Hollywood's favorite stickman end up banging?
Yeah,
Well,
Warren Beatty.
yeah, but who we could always end up doing that same thing with this film, with mapping back to famous, children's films that we've talked about. Specifically, of course, it being a Hollywood film and Chris Columbus being mentioned and tied to it.
We really do need to start doing the 5 degrees of Warren Beatty's sex life, don't we?
Yeah, I think that has to be an official thing.
We should start doing it. We've teased it already. We need to do it.
But, this is definitely, I'd say, on par with something that we should talk about, especially when you break down the elements.
Yeah, I really liked this movie as a kid. One of my friend's older brothers had this on VHS, and I was probably 9 or 10 when I first saw it. I really liked it, but it never really stuck with me. It was never a film that I watched past that age, despite liking it so much. I mean, this movie's completely forgotten. It has no legacy. I can't even really call it a cult classic.
Now, I love to do exercises where I look up merchandise tied to films. There's some merchandise for this.
There is. There's a novelization.
Yep.
As one does.
Yeah. And action figures.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Are they worth anything? Probably just because of scarcity.
Not that I could find. I think maybe if you had like a super sealed one, $20.
The thing with this movie and why it's so interesting and why I wanted to cover it is just based on the talent behind the camera, this just should have been a bigger deal than it was. I mean, this was an Amblin joint backed by the name of Steven Spielberg, and you'd think that would have commanded a box office hit in 1985 because the other stuff that he produced around this time, I'm thinking Gremlins, Back to the Future, The Goonies, all of those have a lasting legacy. To say nothing of their box office success, right? Those were all big movies, particularly Back to the Future. That was the biggest movie of 1985. But this one, and Batteries Not Included, didn't make money, don't really have any kind of a legacy. You have the involvement of young Chris Columbus as a screenwriter. You have Barry Levinson in only his third feature film. We covered his second one, The Natural, technically the season before this, right? We did it as an in-between season episodes in honor of Robert Redford. He was a big filmmaker in his day, especially in the 80s. He was just a couple years removed after this film he wins Best Picture and Best Director for Rain Man, which is a huge hit. You just look at this on paper, it was a complete failure, especially in North America. It was like, why? What happened here? And it's about Sherlock Holmes, a very famous IP, right?
It's about Sherlock Holmes before he was Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, but it has the name. My point is, like,
right.
With all the people involved behind the camera and the name of Sherlock Holmes, you just think this would have been a bigger deal when it was released. And it wasn't. It was completely ignored. It got okay reviews.
Not enough respect on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's name?
Apparently not. I'm sure there are people who think quite fondly of this film. You could go to Reddit right now and find, I'm sure, dozens of people who love it.
Dozens was the right metric.
Yeah. But do you agree with me? Like, when I say, like, I can't even call this a cult classic.
It's hard because even with proper cult classics, there's some sort of presence. There doesn't seem to be a ton of interest when it comes to even, independent analysis, other than a few different forums. There's been no major re-release that I can see.
No.
And so, yeah, this seems to be one of those films that is a bit more forgotten, but was released during an interesting time where its contemporaries, like you said, were very successful.
Not only were they successful financially, but you think about Back to the Future, Gremlins, I think to a lesser extent the Goonies, they all became part of pop culture.
Yeah, those are
in a big way.
Arguably on the Mount Rushmore of, kids' movies.
Right.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, you mentioned that there's been no real re-release of this. It's also completely been ignored by its own production company, Amblin. Amblin is a company. It's Spielberg's company. Amblin. Amblin. Yeah. It is, of course, Steven Spielberg's production company, and they're usually very good about honoring their own history. When I was doing research for this, I was trying to find, is there like a special edition Blu-ray that has like commentary or interviews from the cast years later that I could use to look up stuff about this film? Nothing. It's just bare bones, nothing. Really is a shame. And of course, the concept for Young Sherlock Holmes has been used actually before and after this film. In 1982, there was an 8-episode TV series called Young Sherlock: The Mystery of the Manor House. And then, this is kind of interesting. Guy Ritchie is currently working on a Young Sherlock TV series, starring Hero Fiennes Tiffin as Sherlock and Joseph Fiennes as his father Silas. I think that'll come out sometime early next year, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that was kind of cool. So the idea of this Young Sherlock Holmes is still being used in some shape or form, probably because it's in the public domain.
Yeah, I think we'll hear from the dozens of fans. I'm sure of it.
I hope so. I still am a fan of this film. I'm going to give it a pretty decent rating when we actually do give our ratings. This was a lot of fun to revisit. I have to say, I hadn't seen this in a long time.
So, because I'm not too sure where to insert this, we've talked about a lot of classic literature. And this one's really interesting in that there has been a lot of interpretations very recently, very successful adaptations. Do you have any favorite Sherlock adaptations?
Well, if you want to go like all the way back in the day, Basil Rathbone, I thought was pretty awesome. He still remains an iconic Sherlock Holmes. I did enjoy the more recent BBC series with Benedict Cumberbatch, or at least, I don't even know if I saw all of them. Is there 5 series?
Yeah, there's 5 series. I thought it was a really interesting modern take.
Yeah, I liked it. I really did. Or I think I saw 3 of them, and I liked them all quite a bit.
I think the quality dips off a bit as you keep going, but
sounds right.
Yeah. But
and then, well,
Robert Downey Jr.'s, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say Guy Ritchie has, of course, done Sherlock Holmes before. The Downey version with Jude Law as Watson. I loved both those movies.
Yeah, it made Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes understanding how to fight make sense, which was very cool.
Discombobulate. I hope we get a third one.
I do. I mean, that's going to be tough, but I do hope so.
Yeah, although, you know what? To your point, we're kind of getting to that period where it's been like a little too long, maybe.
I think
when did the second one come out? 2011?
Something like that, dude.
Yeah.
But those films really hold up. Those films really hold up.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Yeah.
A wonderful Hans Zimmer score. Wonderful.
And then if fans or listeners of the show want a really deep cut, Saturday morning TV series by Deke Entertainment, Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century.
Can I give you a sort of deep cut from around the same time that this film came out?
Okay.
It's not officially Sherlock Holmes. The Great Mouse Detective.
That's a great one.
It's one of my all-time favorite Disney movies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome reference. If any listener hasn't heard of Ratigan, or
a great Disney villain voiced by the legendary Vincent Price.
So good. We're gonna talk about that film.
Of course we are.
Yeah.
That's it really is one of my favorite Disney films.
It's very well done. Very well done.
It kind of saved Disney animation, and I don't know if it gets the credit for it. I know, like, the Disney Renaissance gets a lot of the credit for revitalizing Disney, but the Great Mouse Detective, and I think we briefly talked about this on the Black Cauldron episode. That was the first animated film to come out after the Black Cauldron. And if that hadn't done well, and it did, it turned a nice profit, it might have ended Disney animation.
So, and it was successful enough that it was getting the usual Disney treatment of re-release in theaters, the VHS treatment. History does not look as kindly upon Oliver and Company.
You've seen that a lot more recently than I have. It's kind of not great, right?
It's not, but it has its appeal. I'll just say that.
That didn't do well, though, did it?
No, but
no.
The people attached, it's pretty interesting.
It's Bruce Willis, right?
Yep. Right. And, of course, featuring Billy Joel.
Right. But yeah, Great Mouse Detective. I look forward to covering that one. Yeah. Just a fun, would you say underrated Disney movie?
I think so. I think that the fans come out in droves whenever there's new Disney merch that does feature Great Mouse Detective.
As they should.
But I don't think that there's quite enough love on the mainstream.
I showed it to my nieces kind of recently. They loved it. They did not love the Black Cauldron.
That doesn't shock me.
No, they don't. We got a lot of comments over our Black Cauldron thoughts. There's a lot of people that are fans of that movie. I'm sorry to remind them, but it stinks. It's a bad movie.
Like something, it's good to appreciate something.
Yeah, but, even if it stinks.
But yeah, let's remind ourselves, I don't think there's a lot of people proud about that one.
Should have interviewed Jeffrey Katzenberg about it. Anyway, Young Sherlock Holmes, we're going to go back in time to Christmas 1870, which is when this film takes place. I don't know if it doesn't actually say that in the film, but that is revealed in the novelization. This takes place over a 2-week period from December 11th to December 25th, 1870. Who was Queen of England?
Victoria.
Yes. Who was Prime Minister? I don't know. I don't know either. Benjamin Disraeli, maybe. Just throw out a name for you. Lord Liverpool. I don't know. Yeah. There actually was a Lord Liverpool. I didn't just make that up.
Was there a, who was the presiding house?
The Tories, maybe? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I might cut all that out. We're just going to embarrass ourselves for our British listeners. Lord Liverpool. I don't like sales reps.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. Listeners, if you haven't seen this film, a lot of high-pitched voices.
Yeah, we do. Where are we? Should we get into the production history of this?
Let's do it.
Cool. Why don't you read this? Since I feel like I just blathered along there about Lord Baltimore's and Liverpool's.
Well, while this is of course technically based on characters created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, this story is an original one written by Chris Columbus, who used the original Holmes stories as a guide. Should I keep doing it?
Please do continue with the narrator's voice.
Columbus spoke about his inspiration. The thing that was most important to me was why Holmes became so cold and calculating, and why he was alone for the rest of his life. That's why he is so emotional in the film. As a youngster, he was ruled by emotion, he fell in love with the love of his life, and as a result of what happens in this film, he becomes the person he was later. When Steven Spielberg got involved as a producer, he wanted to be sure that the script had the right tone for its Victorian-era setting. He hired English novelist Geoffrey Archer to polish the script. Filming took place between January and April of 1985 at Elstree Studios in Hertfordshire, England.
It's Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire, England. Locations include Oxford, Eton College, Radley College, and Penhurst Place. Thanks to the good folks at ILM, this film is notable for including the first fully computer-generated photorealistic animated character, a knight composed of elements from a stained glass window. It was truly dreadful. The effect was the first CG character to be scanned and painted directly onto film using an RGB laser. The single effect took ILM 4 months to complete. One of the ILM people who worked on this was John Lasseter. In the UK and Australia, it was released as Young Sherlock Holmes in the Pyramid of Fear. Amblin, or Spielberg, was apparently trying to capitalize on the title success of Indiana Jones and the fill-in-the-blank.
I got that from IMDb trivia, so take that with a grain of salt, but I guess that makes sense. Right?
I believe so.
You gonna do the whole rest of the episode with that voice?
I can't do.
Okay.
It was a box office failure in North America, barely making its budget back with $19 million. Overseas it did better, making $44 million, but it underperformed enough that any sequel plans were quickly scrapped. And that brings us to why wasn't it better?
But first, a quick break.
And now we return to Masterpiece Theatre.
On the BBC. You know what they would have needed in this film? A GPS system. Global Positioning Satellite.
Oh, it sounds quite advanced.
Well, that's not very nice. I like custard creams. Let's start with the cast, Anton. I am quite fond of this film, but I have to say I have rewatched it twice in the past week. My biggest problem with it is, unfortunately, the cast. Let me start off by saying I think none of the performances are bad. I think they're all quality in terms of they get the proper amount of drama. I don't think anybody is overacting in a negative way. I just find them quite dull. That includes the leads. I don't think any of them assert themselves. I really do hate saying this because, like I said, I don't think any of them are necessarily bad actors, but goddamn if they aren't all boring to me.
It's fair to say no one really in this cast had a huge career after the film.
Not in film, certainly. I was, looking at their IMDb's, and they were all pretty active on British television, it seems like. But yeah, film careers never took off for any of them. I have to say, I get it. I mean, Nicholas Rowe, who plays Holmes, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Dull?
Just not inspiring. Very dry performance. Almost like there's just a very dull energy to his character.
I think physically a good Sherlock Holmes. He's tall, he's thin, he has the right demeanor for the character. He is the right age. This isn't a case of some 35-year-old trying to play a primary school student. The actor was 19 when this film came out, so he was believable physically. I even think he looks a bit like a young Basil Rathbone.
Yeah,
But
personally, I felt like I kept confusing him with Ferris Bueller's friend.
Alan?
Yeah.
Connor?
Yes, Connor.
Connor Roy?
Connor Roy. I see it.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. And look, I don't want to be too harsh on Rowe, even though I just called him dull and boring. He only had 2 weeks to prepare for this role after he was cast, so maybe more time would have helped. But I think the fact that I think I found a way. I just thought of a way to criticize his performance without being too harsh. I think him and the rest of the cast are not lead actor material. They all strike me as character actors.
Okay, that's fair.
Which is kind of what he became, if you look at his IMDb.
I mean, if you look at the rest of the cast, a lot of supporting roles, a lot of character roles.
But this movie, it's like 3 leads, right? It's Holmes, it's Watson, and it's
Elizabeth.
Right.
And
they're okay.
They're okay. I mean, they're getting into some primary school hijinks.
Right. I do think Rowe and Cox are a good pair. I think they have pretty good chemistry.
I definitely had a laugh or two.
Yeah, they seemed like they were getting along on set. Is what I mean by it. You know,
right.
You need that from any type of a Sherlock Holmes story, right? If Holmes and Watson don't have good chemistry, it doesn't matter how good or bad the mystery is, it's never going to work.
Yeah, I think when we especially think of why it's harder for a younger audience, especially in the time it was released, to like the film, if your leads aren't as charismatic as you'd want, it's hard. It's hard as a young kid to envision yourself as being this character or wanting to be like this character. And I think that, especially when you look at other more successful children films of the same era, there's a bit of charisma, there's a bit of attitude or character that really drives that want. And I'm especially thinking of, like the Goonies we mentioned earlier.
Right. Josh Brolin, Sean Astin, super charismatic.
Very charismatic.
Michael J. Fox oozed charisma in Back to the Future. Although Michael J. Fox was known by the time that movie came out, right?
Yeah, a bit more of a presence. I think that that being said, it's still very fair to say this wasn't the most inspired leads.
No, they were not. Sophie Ward as Elizabeth, same thing. Fine. So I was trying to figure out where I had seen Rowe recently, because he does have a pretty distinctive face.
Mm-hmm.
And it finally occurred to me. He is on the first 2 seasons of The Crown, playing Jacques Colville, private secretary to Winston Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the face now?
Yeah. Yep. Of course, the performance that really strikes out to me is John Lithgow as Churchill. But
of course, future Dumbledore.
Did you see those pictures of him on set?
Yeah.
Look pretty good.
Looks the part.
Yeah, he looked pretty good.
Yeah. There's a lot of casting decisions that have been made about this upcoming Harry Potter series that I don't think fans are happy with, but everybody seems to approve of Lithgow.
And if you think we're going on a tangent, the Harry Potter connection is too real for this film.
We haven't mentioned. Is this the first time we've mentioned it?
I think it is.
Yeah, I've been saving it, but man, we're hardly the first people to make this connection, but it is impossible to talk about this film without talking about Harry Potter, because my goodness, the Chris Columbus connection aside,
right.
Look, save it. We'll get to it a bit later.
We'll get there.
As we continue to move through the cast. This is kind of a cool trivia bit, though, about Nicholas Rowe. He did return to the role of Holmes 30 years later in a 2015 film called Mr. Holmes, in which he played the part in a film that the real Holmes, now a 93-year-old played by Ian McKellen, goes to see at a theater. I thought that was really cool.
That is really fun.
Have you seen that film?
I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, it's not bad. If you like Ian McKellen, which most people do.
Yeah, love Magneto.
Yeah, not Gandalf?
Oh yeah, that probably makes more sense. Although he does make a really good Magneto. I don't want to make it seem like
incredible Magneto.
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like a joke. Like, I really do love his Magneto.
Who doesn't? Is he still playing Magneto?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Isn't X-Men still floating around somewhere in the MCU now?
Well, in the upcoming Endgame, there's a lot of speculation that Patrick Stewart is still going to play Professor X. So I'd only hope that we get an appearance, but we'll see.
Well, we'll all look forward to that.
It'll be quite a film.
That film doesn't have any production issues at all. No red flags there.
It hasn't been pushed out a bit.
We're just tangenting so much today.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season.
Yes, it is.
It's such a cozy holiday movie. It really is. If nothing else, this film is cozy.
I agree with that, especially the way everyone's dressed.
Oh, yeah. Did I tell you I found an Etsy seller that'll make the scarves?
Yeah.
The scarves that you see in this film? Brompton Academy.
If I could, I don't smoke tobacco, but the pipe is a nice touch.
That'd be a statement if you just whipped that out.
But I'd love to have just like I don't even know how to properly store the pipe. Is there is there a pipe holder?
There would be.
Yeah. I wouldn't just put it in a box.
No, I'm not too knowledgeable when it comes to pipe smoking. But if any of our listeners are, please write in and tell us all about it. There's another Lord of the Rings connection. Gandalf pipes.
Dang.
He stayed on that pipe.
He did. The finest weed.
It's not supposed to be marijuana, right? In Lord of the Rings.
No,
it's just
it's
tobacco,
not.
Right?
It just happened.
But they call it weed?
Yeah. But it's not marijuana.
Sorry, stoners.
Yeah.
Sorry there's rain on your Lord of the Rings parade. Where were we here?
Yeah, so it's
none of the performances are bad. They're just kind of dull.
Yeah, and in some kids' films you give the benefit that like you don't want to be too harsh on kid performances, right?
No, and like I said, I don't think they're bad. They're believable in the roles. They're just you need Holmes to be magnetic. You need him to be charismatic. And I don't think Nicholas Rowe did that. Where I do think the film succeeds, though, is how Holmes is written. It does do, I think, a good job, and I'll give Columbus and director Barry Levinson credit for this. It does do a good job of showing Holmes do smart things to show us that he's smart.
Right.
When he's solving that mystery, running around on campus, trying to find the trophy. When he does the thing when he's introduced, when he meets Watson and he's like, "Don't tell me your name, I'm going to guess it." It's like, that's the kind of stuff we want to see Sherlock Holmes do, and this film does that.
Yeah, it's the believability factor is definitely there. I thought the film also did a really good job at building the atmosphere. You could really feel the connection in the main cast.
Yeah, like I said, they have good chemistry,
really good
for
chemistry.
Sure. The chemistry's there. Watson is played by the son of Brian Cox, Alan Cox, who would have been considered a fat person in 1870, Victorian England. How times have changed.
It's different, even in the 80s. Yeah,
I guess, they were making a joke at his expense. It's amazing they didn't have him do the truffle shuffle.
It's really funny to think at this time, Brian Cox was doing a lot of stage work, not yet quite not quite in plenty of Hollywood films in his career.
Yeah, because he would have been in Manhunter the following year after this,
right,
as Lecter.
As Hannibal Lecter,
right.
But people didn't know that.
I don't think he was a household name in 1985.
No.
Nor was his son, and his son Alan never would be. Because if you didn't think that Nicholas Rowe's film career took off, Alan Cox's did not either. And it's not to say, again, I don't think he's bad.
No.
He's just not... He's not Bilbo Baggins, you know what I mean?
Nope. He's
No, he looks like a Bilbo Baggins because he's short and kind of tubby, which is funny because Watson would later be played by Bilbo Baggins himself, Martin Freeman. This is all coming back to Lord of the Rings somehow.
It's, what is it? It's a British fantasy. We can't get away from it.
We can't. And I'm okay with that because I love British fantasy.
Yeah, Brian Cox, what if his character was more like Logan Roy? Does he just push Alan Cox to the side and say, "I got it from here"?
You. Out. I like how they poke fun at his weight enough times that even when he's hit with the blow dart and he hallucinates about pastries and sweets. It's so messed up.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Did you see the Uber Eats commercial with Brian Cox?
Oh, which one? There's a few that are very funny.
The one where he's on the school campus?
Oh, yeah. I'm a student.
There's that funny joke where they're in like the group setting and someone says he's like a theater and political science major and he's like, "You'll make a great barista one day."
Yeah.
Look at us sidebarring again. We're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry.
This happens when it's just Pat and Anton, you know?
Yeah, we're just
It happens with guests too.
happens. It happens. With this cast, if you didn't think that the main cast really was hitting home runs, the rest of the cast also fun characters.
Some fun characters, but yeah, I think nobody really asserts themselves. They're all kind of dry and dull. But before I forget, can I tell you who Alan Cox reminded me of in this film? It's okay. So you're aware. You probably noticed that his voice keeps cracking a bunch of times.
Yep.
You noticed that?
Oh yes, I'm very sad.
Okay, so he reminded me of the daughter of the castle owner who John Cleese has to rescue in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh man.
My dad was a castle. It's the same voice, right?
It is the same voice. That is so funny. I'm trying to remember that specific scene now.
He goes in and just stabs everyone at the wedding.
That's right. And but he keeps going, and like it escalates more and more. Oh, that was so good.
Remember on the way out, he starts stabbing more people, and the father's like, "Stop!" He's like, "I'm sorry, I got carried away." Okay, back to the cast of this. Promise, we're going to stay on topic for more than 2 minutes this time. Anthony Higgins plays Professor Wraith, who is later revealed to be Moriarty. I mean, again, he's just
seems like a bully, but doesn't seem like a Moriarty.
What was his name? Tar Heel? Tahe? Chevy Tahoe?
Chevy Chase.
Right. Yeah, he not a marquee name. Do you think it needed a star to really like go after the box office? I mean, because to your point, The Goonies did not have any stars in it. Gremlins didn't really have any stars in it. Back to the Future kind of had some stars in it. So I can't say that this needed stars to be a hit.
Well, but I would say you don't need stars for it to be a hit. You don't need necessarily stars for a film to be a hit, but you need stars in the making to be magnetic, to draw in people to see the film, even if they haven't established themselves as stars yet. You need better performances.
And this film didn't have it. And look, I do want to acknowledge Anthony Higgins and other members of the cast are probably more well-known in Britain because of how much British television that they've been on since this film came out. So I'm sure our British listeners may write back to us saying like, oh no, actually Anthony Higgins was pretty well-known at the time. That is very possible. But certainly to audiences here in the States, would not have been a marquee name.
I think we haven't really touched on this subject a bit of one-hit wonders when it comes to actors. I think that, especially when it comes to child actors, there's usually in Hollywood, we see a larger cast like put up with the cast that are much more famous in name, or they show a lot of talent at a young age that really draws people in to want to continue to see their films as they grow up. We talked about Linda Blair before. I think that's one example of where pretty strong cast around them, but also a great performance by Linda Blair.
Legendary performance, really.
Yeah. Macaulay Culkin. Not a household name at the time, but hey, kind of overnight.
Blew up overnight. Yeah, because what had he been in before Home Alone? Uncle Buck?
Uncle Buck.
Which wasn't really a big movie.
That was not a driver for him.
You get actors too, like Henry Thomas dined on E.T. for a long time. Drew Barrymore had certainly more success over the
starting
years.
in Firestarter.
Yeah, but I mean, and she continued into adulthood. She was in plenty of stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, these guys. I mean, again, British television. Make of that what you will. Were there any of the characters that you really liked?
I think I've been harsh on Nicholas Rowe's character, but I do think at the end of the day that I liked his character. I did like Holmes.
I liked how he was written.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I absolutely hated his performance.
No, I mean, I think we've been clear on that. We don't dislike the performances in it. They're just, I keep using the word dull. Like, can you think of there's not a lot of memorable lines in here?
No.
Nothing like that. I like the polar bear riddle that keeps going throughout the film that, Watson and Holmes are going on about. I like that stuff.
or we'll touch on this a little bit later, but I like the character of the stained glass knight.
All the 30 seconds he's on
Yeah.
screen.
He's like, oh, he's terrifying.
All joking aside, I did like Lestrade.
Yeah.
I actually thought that actor did a really good job. I don't know his name. He'd be played by Toby Jones today, I can tell you that.
What's his name? He works for Hydra.
Toby Jones.
Yeah. No. I forget the character's name.
Zola.
Yeah, Zola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the actor's name it's an extremely English name, Roger Ashton Griffiths. Did you think it was Toby Jones? Because I did.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is hilarious because his father's in this film.
Interesting connections. A lot of connections in this film. It
just doesn't. Man, let's just bring this back to Harry Potter.
Yeah. What do you think Dobby's drink of choice is?
Malt liquor, like Colt 45 or something.
Dobby wants a buzzball.
I don't like wine. Do you have any Steel Reserve? No, they don't sell that in England, probably. No, they don't. What's a cheap liquor they sell in England? Like bottom of the barrel shit. We only get the goods. They only export the good stuff here, I guess.
I would assume something like Cutty Sark.
Cutty Sark's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's seems pretty British.
Yeah, that's Scotch, right? It's like some bottom shelf Scotch.
And it's very, very harsh.
Horrible. Have you ever had black and white whiskey?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's not good, right? No. You know, if the film is old enough, you know how sometimes you'll see, like, Smirnoff appeared in like the first James Bond movie.
Yeah.
And it was obviously because of product placement, but like if you do your research, like Smirnoff, and this applies to other brands as well, it was like a different iteration of the brand back then. It got bought over the years and turned into something different.
Right.
Like Gordon's Gin used to be considered like a premium brand of gin, and now it's, in my opinion, undrinkable.
What about Beefeater? What was up with that?
I think Beefeater's pretty good.
Yeah.
Were you about to say something negative about Beefeater?
No, I was going to say, like, who owns that?
I think Beefeater.
All right, then we're good.
I mean, it's probably owned by some huge conglomerate. It's made in England, though, in London.
I just always think of it, that it always, when I was younger, it stood out to me because of the mascot.
Have you been to the Tower of London and seen the real Beefeaters?
I have.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a good time.
Did you ask them if they make gin there?
No, because I knew I didn't have to ask a question like that.
Good. You saved yourself some embarrassment.
Yeah, that moment at least.
Let's talk about the production of this film, because I think this is really where the movie shines. Now that we've gotten our negative opinions about the cast out of the way, I want to talk about Barry Levinson again. This is his third feature film. He hasn't done anything relevant in a very long time, but in the 1980s, he was one of the most versatile, most successful directors around. Consider this. This is his body of work in the 80s. Diner, The Natural, this film, Young Sherlock Holmes, Good Morning Vietnam, Rain Man. Pretty versatile.
Goodness.
Yeah. And then he continued that success into the 90s. He directed Avalon, Bugsy, Disclosure.
Disclosure was...
Sphere.
I was going to say, was that the turning point?
Sphere was absolutely the turning point for his career. That's when it started to nosedive. But he also directed Sleepers. Have you ever seen that? That's a pretty messed up movie.
Yeah. That's messed
up. Really messed up.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Kind of a downer. And then, he experienced the peak of his career with Rain Man. It was the highest grossing film of 1988. He wins Best Director. But this is really interesting to watch, 40 years later, because this is a precursor to Harry Potter. It has to be seen that way. Anytime I've ever heard someone talk about Young Sherlock Holmes, which admittedly isn't very much, they make the Harry Potter connection. And it really is true. And it's not just because of the Chris Columbus connection. This shares the same DNA with Harry Potter and Indiana Jones. It's no coincidence.
Yeah, and I think that drawing upon those same parallels, I think it does a really good job, right?
Absolutely. I don't know if J.K. Rowling ever acknowledged this film, but I would not be surprised to hear if this influenced her writing, at least for the first couple books. Because I was saying this to you earlier. I mean, the scene where Holmes, Watson, and Elizabeth are sneaking into the warehouse where they ultimately stumble across the Temple of Doom. The Indiana Jones connection is the obvious one, but if you think about it, Anton, it might as well be Harry, Ron, and Hermione trying to get into the Sorcerer's Stone.
I mean, if you think we're kidding, we're going to pull up the picture now if this is the YouTube short. And come on now. How close is that to the famous
You agree with me?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I mean, Columbus, of course, would go on to direct the first 2 Harry Potter films. I noticed that it's shot the same way as this film. Those are shot pretty similarly to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the color palette, I think a lot of the, what do you call it? A lot of the blocking is pretty similar. Okay, what do we think of the mystery itself? Because this is a Sherlock Holmes film. The mystery is important, right?
Mystery is important, but overall, I think it's just like, okay.
Like the cast, a little dull. A little underwhelming, a little half-baked.
A little predictable.
A little relying on an exposition dump in the final act.
And then the twist at the end, a little predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like how it involves someone named Rupert Waxflatter, which is
That's
an incredible name. Okay,
House
so...
Waxflatter.
The House of Waxflatter. Waxflatter. All right, I have a question for you, Anton. This is about the mystery, and this is the part of the episode that contains spoilers for a 40-year-old obscure film you're never going to see unless you've seen it. So it is revealed that Professor Wraith and his sister, correct me if I'm wrong, they are Egyptian children whose village was destroyed by British soldiers over some kind of a land dispute involving 5 English gentlemen. And then they proceed to take their revenge on these gentlemen decades later, right? Okay. That's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
It's not interesting.
It's pretty stupid, as are the kind of outdated visuals of Egyptian culture.
Yeah, I don't think they'd make this now with the Egyptian culture.
I was going to say, is it a little iffy?
A little racist? Like when Holmes and Watson go into that Egyptian bar, it's like a little Indiana Jones racist-y.
Yeah, let's just say it wouldn't get made today.
Everyone in the bar had swords and stuff. It's pretty funny. Shotguns.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
So, question for you about Wraith and his sister. They are taking revenge on these 5 gentlemen. They are blow darting them, with a poisoned thorn, which causes them to hallucinate and briefly go crazy. Why wouldn't they just kill them?
Because that's too simple.
But as we see from the film, where Holmes and Watson and does Elizabeth get blow darted too? Yeah, all 3 of them get blow darted, right? And they run into the cemetery.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, it is not a guaranteed kill. It just makes you hallucinate for a short period of time. It doesn't kill you. So if they're trying to kill these 5 guys, why wouldn't they just kill them?
I think that it was a little bit unexplainable. One could just presume, are they in situations where once they get blow darted, they're going to do something stupid and die?
Like in a restaurant, you're about to eat a pheasant. By the way, freaky. Freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Still kind of freaked me out as an adult.
Yeah.
It's pretty effective.
Good jump scares. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool practical effects, which we'll talk about later. Really cool CGI, too, which we'll talk about later. Okay. Wraith's revenge plot involves, I wrote this down, moving to England, assuming a false identity, and getting a teaching job at a school, teaching alongside Flaxwater for 5 years, renting a warehouse, and constructing a giant pyramid in which he operates a secret murder cult for years on end. This is his plan.
Seems legit.
Seems a little Bane in Dark Knight Rises too convoluted, perhaps?
You merely adopted the darkness.
Do you think he owns that warehouse, or is he renting it?
If he has the capital, it makes sense to own it, but I don't think so.
Right. Because how do you explain the pyramid construction to the landlord?
You can't.
You can't. Because you'd have to dig a giant hole, right? It's pretty sophisticated excavation he's got going on. That pyramid's pretty big.
Yeah, and that cannot be on a rental lease.
No, you can't explain that. That would violate. No. He probably would have lost his security deposit, right?
And he's changed the locks.
Right. Okay. And then, so Holmes, Watson, and Elizabeth, they're investigating these mysterious deaths, especially after Elizabeth's... Is it her uncle or her grandfather?
I thought it was the uncle.
I think, Waxflatter, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He stabs himself, pretty gruesome. So they stumble upon this secret society, which is in no way related to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. that sacrifices young girls as part of a sort of a ceremony.
For
They're worshiping Osiris. Kalima.
it's all very
Kalima
what is
Shakti
it?
Day.
It's a no, like it's part of that same problematic. We're just gonna throw this culture in and say spooky stuff and do spooky things.
I saw it far more effectively done in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, though.
Oh yeah,
This was kind of just they stumble upon. By the way, he doesn't save that girl.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Critics mentioned this at the time. If you read some contemporary reviews of this time, a lot of them very negatively complain about how similar this is to Temple of Doom. And I get it.
Mhm.
That had come out only 18 months prior to this. So it's like,
Yeah.
like in some ways, I really like the script to this film, Anton. Like, I like how the characters are written, but also at the same time, the mystery is really disinteresting to me.
I think what's tough is it also doesn't really take anything from a proper Sherlock Holmes source material, right? Like there's no
No.
yeah, like there's nothing close to this.
No, other than
Yeah.
like the character traits.
And I think that's where what's interesting about the original Sherlock Holmes novels is that a lot of the source material that a lot of the adaptations that took from that source material, you don't really have to think too hard about what your mystery is going to be because these awesome mysteries were already written.
Great point. They kind of did themselves a disservice here by writing such a, in my opinion, lame mystery.
Because hey, that's really hard to live up to those expectations of writing of classic literature, which are awesome mysteries, and the reveals are really cool.
And I do think some of it is fixable too, right? Like if you think about the hallucinations thing. They spoil the mystery immediately. We see the first victim. What's his name? Bobbity?
Yeah, Bibbidi.
Bibbidi Bobbity. What is the character's actual name? It's like Mr. Bob. It's like Bobbity or something, right?
Yeah.
But so one of the things I think this film could have done better very easily is think about it. They spoil the mystery immediately. He goes out of his house. He walks through the streets of London for a bit. He walks to a restaurant. Just before he goes in, we see this mysterious hooded figure following him and blow darts him.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been better for the mystery, I think, if you had just seen him go crazy and we as the audience didn't know what happened to him either. And then you see somebody else. The priest goes crazy.
Right.
Sees the stained glass window
Yeah.
come alive.
Mm-hmm.
We as the audience aren't sure, are these hallucinations real? Can only they see them? It seems like only they can see them. Think about it. But because we see him get blow darted within the first 2 minutes of the film, that part of the mystery gets kind of ruined for us too.
I see where you're going with this. It's if you build the mystery around are we in on it or not? And I think the less that we're in on it, the better the reveal becomes.
Right. Because when Holmes and company are trying to figure out what's going on with these guys, we as the audience already know.
They're getting blow darted.
Right. It's funny to say that. On the other hand, I do like how this is in the public domain and you can kind of do anything you want with Holmes. It's one of the things, it's why we've gotten so many versions of it over the years. And I think I like all the different iterations of it. It's kind of cool.
I agree with that. I think it's much better than what people do with IPs like, I don't know, Winnie the Pooh and Steamboat Willie nowadays. They just make horror movies.
Yeah, it is stupid. It's probably much better than what Amazon is going to do with James Bond, which is going to hit the public domain soon in the next few years.
So, yeah, that's a really good call out.
Amazon's going to ruin it, aren't they?
Unfortunately.
Another Harry Potter connection. There's Draco Malfoy in this movie.
There is. Yeah.
She had to have seen this when she was writing the first couple books, right?
I think she could say there were so many coincidences. Visually, there's so much here visually, and then it does follow the first book a lot.
It does. The primary school setting,
Mhm.
the sort of magic. You know, we don't really know if there's magic, the supernatural at work here, right? We're not sure. What do you think of this film's tone?
Sometimes I feel like it's a little all over the place. Like sometimes I feel like it gets a little too scary. But then for a kid's film, I feel like it should play it a bit looser. Or sorry, not looser, but I don't know. I felt like it was a little much for a kid's film.
You're calling this a kid's film?
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean,
I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't do well at the box office. Is
that's
this
fair.
a movie for kids?
It really isn't.
No.
Yeah.
It's It's very similar to a movie we reviewed recently with Garrett, Dick Tracy, where it's really is, to your point, too dark to be a kid's movie, but it involves kids, so it probably wasn't interesting to a lot of adults at the time in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
If you were our age at the time, 1985, would you have been interested in seeing this? I don't think I would have been, other than maybe Steven Spielberg's involved. Maybe I'll check it out. But other than that, I don't think I would have been into this.
Oh, I mean, when I say kids movie, I think of that realm of like PG-13. I think this would appeal to like 13-year-old me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but not little kids.
No.
I was watching this with my nieces, as I do with a lot of the movies we review, because I kind of want to see what they think of it. This was pretty intense for them.
They're like, this is a lot.
The bird thing freaked them out. They thought the stained glass night was really cool.
Yeah, that was smooth. That was a really smooth effect.
It was.
Yeah.
You know what though? Maybe I'm contradicting myself, because Gremlins had the same type of issues, but that is way too intense for a kids movie. But it is funny.
But that's a funny thing though, is that as not appropriate as it is for kids, I think kids love Gremlins.
They do, and Gremlins was one of the last movies of its kind, because that was rated PG, and it got a lot of criticism for it.
Yeah, this
was PG-13, right?
Yes, this was PG-13. But Gremlins, it's one of those films where probably kids shouldn't have seen it, or kids probably should have been a bit more mature, or because that one, there's like straight up blood in Gremlins.
Yeah.
This film, I think you make really, really, really great points around expectations of what a kids film is at the time, and then also audience perceptions of the film. I think if you make a film young anything, is a lot of presumption around I don't know if I'm interested, like, do I really want to see young Hercules?
Do I really want to see James Bond Jr.? Do
I really want to see Young Guns? Maybe.
Young Indiana Jones?
Maybe.
Young Frankenstein?
Yes.
Yes, of course. This is one of the first post-credit scenes I can ever remember seeing. It would have been pretty uncommon in 1985. And that's, of course, where we see that this is actually Moriarty, and they're clearly trying to set things up for a sequel.
Yep. And then, what was it? Then Nick Fury went up to him and said, "We're putting together a team."
Tonally, though, I did like how it flirted with the supernatural without really involving it. I thought that was cool. It's something that the first Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes movie does.
Yeah, it's like, and I think that's what I think the execution is much better with the Robert Downey Jr. one. That one kept you thinking the whole time, like, am I in on it?
It did, yeah. The flying machine is stupid.
That's Da Vinci's flying machine, right?
I guess. Wait, did you say Da Vinci or Wax Flatter?
Sorry, Wax Flatter.
Does he say he's using Da Vinci's designs at one point?
No, he said it was his.
Okay. Yeah, that's where that movie, I was like, okay. I love the Victorian setting here, though. Oh my gosh. This is where the film really succeeds.
Yeah, the atmosphere, the coziness, the time period. This probably, like, if you're British, like, it's a good strong, like, is it a patriotic vibe?
It's a very, like, Christmas Carol vibe, for sure.
Yeah.
This could have been the same set as, like, Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah. Well, let's go through the crew here, because, I mean, the crew of this movie is an all-star cast.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about Spielberg, Levinson, Chris Columbus. The production designer for this was Norman Reynolds. He had already won Oscars for his work on Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Pretty great.
Awesome.
Pretty great.
He also did the production design on the other Indiana Jones films. He did Alien 3, a lot of well-known stuff at the time. This was shot by a cinematographer named Steven Goldblatt, who we were giving him his praises when we covered Batman Forever, which is an awesome-looking movie. He shot the first two Lethal Weapons, The Pelican Brief, The Prince of Tides. Very experienced cinematographer. Mm-hmm. I love how this movie shot. It is so cozy and so warm. There's so many candle-lit interiors that really get me going.
Yeah, perfect. The coziness tied to the lighting, great composition, balance, really well done.
Yeah, I like how everything is framed. There's a lot of, like, really clever shots, like a lot of good uses of, like, reflections and stuff like that. Great stuff all around. And you look at the budget for this film, $18 million in 1985, pretty modest Great looking movie.
Mm-hmm.
Give credit to Barry Levinson and the crew. This looks a lot more expensive than what it was.
Oh yeah, and I think especially when you think of that aesthetic, the way the film was shot, it makes sense why it fits very similar cozy vibes to the first Harry Potter.
Exactly. Almost an identical color palette. It's almost like Chris Columbus used this film as an influence.
As a template to build.
I think it does have a very similar vibe and look to the first Home Alone, too, or the second one, too, if you want to get technical. He knows how to do cozy Christmas settings, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Even though he didn't direct this film. He learned from Barry Levinson.
Right.
It's hard to mess up a 1800s Victorian era Christmas setting. There's a lot of good things you can do with that.
Yeah, it's that's why I love Muppet Christmas Carol.
Who doesn't? Pretty iconic imagery in this, not just the stained glass night, but like all the hallucination stuff is super creative. When that hat rack comes alive,
We
all
talked
the stuff in
about
the cemetery.
what was it, the roast pheasant or the turkey or no, the chicken.
I think it's a pheasant.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then all the stuff in the cemetery, like even when Holmes is hallucinating about his parents and like he doesn't meet their approval. I thought that was like really well done.
Yeah, and nothing too. And I think what's nice about the film, not relying too heavily on effects.
Yeah, it uses them really sparingly, and it's really effective when it does.
So it's within budget, and I think probably like getting all the value that they can. But I mean, hey, it's what you get when you work with Industrial Light and Magic.
I was going to say Dennis Muren, 7-time Oscar winner, supervised the effects on this. I mean, the CGI night has been written about a lot, deservedly so. It really holds up for 40-year-old CGI. I mean, it's obviously very brief and very primitive, but it is super effective.
It is, and I'm trying to think too, just the budget they had. It's, I mean, look, they're also the amount of competition getting work with the studio. I think that they probably get moved to the top of the list because they're part of Amblin, right?
Yeah.
So
they had 4 months to work on it too.
So they had time.
Yeah.
It's interesting now, and shouts out to guest Ivan Calixto for bringing this up. A lot of films nowadays, the effects can be all over the place because bigger studios, there's just so much competition to get their work. So
it's a race to the bottom in terms of who can do it the cheapest.
Yeah.
Probably the most famous thing about this film.
Yeah, it's it doesn't look goofy, and I think one could expect an effect like that to look goofy.
It should have, because you think about it, we're only 3 years removed from Tron, which looks super dated. I mean, we like Tron, but the CG in there looks very dated.
I was going to say for Tron, that was, if there's pioneers, Tron literally went all the way to the Wild West.
It did. It did. I don't want to take anything away from Tron.
But I'm trying to think of like, heck, even the Golden Child. Think of those effects.
Was that even CGI?
Well, maybe it wasn't. You're right.
I think I might have been some kind of weird stop motion. I don't know, but it was awful. That had a larger budget than this by quite a bit. I will be getting myself one of those striped scarves just as a reminder.
It's pretty cool.
We have to talk about the score.
Oh, yeah. Really good. Really good.
Wonderful score.
Yeah.
Bruce Broughton composed it. He was a pretty active composer at the time. Honestly, I think a very underrated score. This is a lot of really memorable themes in here. Different cues for different characters and different sequences. I really like it. It's a shame this wasn't nominated for an Oscar, because this is the kind of score. It is perfect for this film.
Yep. No, totally agree.
It was out of print for a while. You couldn't find it. And it was recently, they did like a reworked, like remastered complete score of this film that I've listened to on YouTube, because it really is that good.
I figure this is something that probably you could find on Laserdisc. I'm going to actually search for that.
I would think. That's all the notes I have for the production. I have a couple more things about trying to explain why this failed at the box office. I think we kind of hit on some of the reasons already: the cast, the tone. But I always like to look at what it was competing against at the time of its release. So this was released a week after Rocky IV, and the same week as Out of Africa. So it just got buried. Yeah,
and December is not. Yeah, it's okay.
Here's the box office for December 85. This is what it was competing against. Rocky IV, Spies Like Us, Jewel of the Nile, White Knights, the Santa Claus movie, which is insane. Disney re-released 101 Dalmatians. The Color Purple was still in theaters. Clue was in theaters. Back to the Future was still in theaters. Yeah, this had no chance.
Yeah, it's interesting though because I'm kicking myself for this. I didn't watch it. I haven't seen a trailer for this film, and I think probably even back then, trailers are even more important for a film drawing success, especially during the holiday season.
It's okay.
Yeah, and if you're competing with those films, this is not built off of the name of any particular actor. It's not built off of an existing IP, or sorry, of existing film IP. It's its own thing. That's a lot of competition, and like I said, December is okay for film. Okay.
Yeah, there's usually some serious competition.
Yeah.
It's a shame this didn't take off because although I'm not too hot on the cast, I would have watched a sequel to this and seen what this version of Holmes and Watson did next. It would have been cool.
Yeah, I think do you think that maybe that this film could almost be seen as like a pilot to a series?
Yeah, in a way I do, yeah.
Because I think that they both do fit, the leads fit TV really well. I could see this being a big budget TV series.
Well, clearly Guy Ritchie sees the potential for this concept.
That's
because
true.
he's of course developing a Young Sherlock series. Yeah, I mean this does seem like a pilot because it's of course they are trying real hard to set up a sequel for this at the end, and it just never got off the ground. There's another piece to this I was thinking about. Could Spielberg have done more to promote this? Because he really championed stuff like Gremlins and Back to the Future. He has had basically nothing to say about this ever since, even though this film opens with Steven Spielberg Presents. And I was trying to figure it out, but the only quote I could really find, he gave an interview around the time that this came out, kind of saying how he had very little to do with it. He said, quote, "With Young Sherlock Holmes, which has been shot in England, I had virtually nothing to do with it. However, we were very involved with Back to the Future and Goonies," end quote. Kind of a write-off, right?
A little dismissive.
A little bit. Of course, he was pretty involved in like the script process and hiring Barry Levinson, so he must have believed in it at some point, and maybe he just didn't have the time. He was really busy. He was busy making The Color Purple when this film was getting made.
Yeah.
I don't want to blame him for this.
No, but like, look, if I'm Steven Spielberg, everything coming to my desk at the time, it's like, it's either yes, no, I'm attaching my name to it. Like, I'm very busy. If I've attached my name to something that did really well, of course it's going to take credit.
Right. But the point I'm making is that with stuff like Back to the Future, he was pretty involved in that. He was on set frequently. Here he was not. Now, again, he was making The Color Purple, which coincidentally enough competed against this at the box office at the same time. I just found that interesting because Spielberg, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
this was Amblin's first flop.
Interesting.
Maybe that's why they haven't really had anything to do with it since. They kind of just they just kind of want to forget about it. Maybe. Which
is funny, just because even if it's a flop, and I really hope for it, I hope that we have some young Sherlock Holmes fans that are like, I actually really love that.
I know there's people that love it. I kind of love it. I like this movie. I can't say
I think you love the idea of it.
I do love the idea of it. It's a great concept.
Yeah.
Anything to add? We can kind of move into our ratings then.
Let's jump into the ratings, shall we?
Okay. Well, I was kind of just teeing myself up there. This is kind of a guilty pleasure for me because I do think it's flawed. The cast is pretty dull. The mystery isn't that interesting to me. But I still quite like this film. It cruises by on the strengths of its production, which are outstanding. This is a really great looking movie. It's well shot with great production design and a great score. I forgot to mention the pacing. I think it's paced pretty well. It's like, 110 minutes, somewhere around there. It moves at a nice clip. It's a pretty unique take on the Sherlock Holmes character, which I appreciate. It's charming and it's quirky and it's witty, and I think 40 years later it manages to stand on its own just because of how visually interesting it is. So I think it really does hold up. It's not dated. You know, it was a period piece when of course it was made, and there's really nothing about it that I think ages poorly. It's a shame that this didn't do well. It's a shame it's not really well remembered. Not even its own production company seems to care about its legacy. It deserves better. I absolutely recommend this to anyone who hasn't seen it. I think this movie, objectively, for me, is pretty good. It's solid but uneven. It's definitely worth watching. And the flaws that are in it, I think you can overlook. I rate this a B minus.
For a film that isn't quite as remembered as its contemporaries, I think that this really does deserve another look. So many parallels and influence to films like Harry Potter, and it also takes from a lot of the same aesthetic and formula that we've seen with a lot of success with other films, whether we talk about Indiana Jones. And on its own, I think a very solid film. Even though it's not perfect, we may not necessarily love the performances. I think that within the film itself as a whole, great chemistry, a very fun atmosphere. I think that while even the mystery itself might not be to the level of mystery that one would expect with Sherlock Holmes, the story itself is more so, this is more so about the vibes. This is more so about the atmosphere. And I think that enjoyment is part of that same enjoyment that I felt, or like that is the same enjoyment that was able to draw out of me. And I think a lot of people that see this film see that genuine care, see that genuine quality. And it's not just in the storytelling, but also in, the shot composition, just the way that the film looks and feels. It has a lot of great qualities to it. It may not be a favorite of mine, but I do really I do really enjoy it. I did have a good time watching it. It's not, again, it's something that I think people should watch. And I think that it does deserve more conversation, not only for its place in history within CGI, but also because I think it has a lot more quality to it than a lot of films coming out today. So I think that this one definitely deserves another look. It's a bummer that this one didn't do quite as well in the box office. For me, this one sits at a C+.
Well, Anton, that's it for Young Sherlock Holmes. Possibly the most unorthodox Christmas movie that we have covered so far on this podcast, or possibly in a tie with Eyes Wide Shut. Take your pick.
Well, it's an obscure one, but I'm sure listeners will know exactly what we're talking about when they watch it if they haven't seen it yet.
At the time of this recording, you can watch it on Pluto or YouTube if you want to get bombarded with ads. Who knows if it'll be available on those platforms then. That's something we probably didn't talk about, and maybe we should have earlier. It's like, I don't remember this being on TV a lot, or it wasn't very accessible for years. I mean, it just wasn't a popular movie, but there you go.
Good call. Yeah, if you want to watch it, go to Blockbuster.
Right. Drive over to your nearest home video store and check it out. That's it for this edition of Why Wasn't It Better? Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.